Donald Trump knows how to capture the imagination of voters. Look at some of his bold and ambitious ideas. The border wall, a space force. As president, he wanted to buy Greenland once. And now Trump has floated a brand new idea. He wants the US government to have its own sovereign wealth fund.
We'll create America's own sovereign wealth fund to invest in great national endeavors for the benefit of all of the American people. Why don't we have a wealth fund? Other countries have wealth funds. We have nothing. We have nothing. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, or we can name it something different.
He may not have a name for it yet, but what will Trump do with this fund? Well, he promises to put, and I'm quoting, a tremendous amount into it and use it to achieve great things for America. That's how he talks. The US owes over $30 trillion to its creditors, so we don't know where Trump would get this tremendous sum from. Having said that, the idea does have merit. If executed right, it could work. Reports say even India is considering it, starting a sovereign wealth fund of its own. But what are these funds? Why do governments even need them? And how are they different from venture capitalists who already have tremendous funds to deploy and, to be honest, are more nimble and risk-averse than governments? So how are sovereign wealth funds different from VCs? Well, there is a fundamental difference between the two. VCs are like sprinters competing in a 100-meter race. They make ambitious bets, but they also look for quick results. When VCs put money into a startup, they expect outsized returns in a fixed window of time. On the other hand, sovereign wealth funds are more like marathon runners. Their priorities are completely different. These funds, of course, are owned by the government, unlike VCs, which are private. Sovereign wealth funds are basically tools to diversify an economy. They prioritize strategic interests over profits. They focus on building multiple streams of income over decades. Countries with oil money were among the first to start them. Kuwait launched the world's first sovereign wealth fund way back in the 1950s. The idea was quite simple. Oil revenues were filling their coffers. The kingdom had surplus money lying around, so they decided to deploy this money to build revenue streams beyond oil. Today, the Kuwaiti fund has more than $800 billion in assets. And the world over, there are more than 70 sovereign wealth funds, 70. Together, they have more than $6 trillion in assets. 59% of these funds get their money from energy revenues. And what's the world's biggest fund? The Norwegian government's pension fund. It is worth well over $1 trillion. This fund was started in 1967. Again, it was financed by oil revenues. By 2017, it had shares in over 9,000 companies. Norway's fund is among the world's biggest stock market investors today, and that's a lot of financial firepower. Which other areas does the Norwegian fund invest in? Well, more than 70% of its assets are in equities, and they have made a big bet on the tech sector. Norway has holdings in some of the world's biggest tech companies like Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, Amazon, and chipmaker Nvidia. The Norwegian fund has put money in all of them. We are talking about investments worth more than $100 billion. Norway's fund managers are also betting on climate transition. Consider what the fund's CEO said earlier this year, and I'm quoting, "We think it is part of long-term investing. You really need to care about the impact that companies have on the environment. Otherwise, you're not going to make good long-term investing." So they're keeping an eye on the future. That's what major sovereign wealth funds do. They invest in solving the problems of tomorrow. So investments in the tech sector, climate transition, healthcare, these are all fairly common. Take the example of the Saudi investment fund. It is backing companies like Uber and Nvidia. Qatar's sovereign wealth fund has big investments in healthcare, including vaccine maker CureVac. These funds are putting money in India as well. Last year, they invested over $40 billion into Indian companies. And which sectors did they pick? Healthcare, entertainment, renewables, and space. Again, futuristic and forward-looking industries. So if India, or Donald Trump for that matter, plan to launch a new fund, there are lots of global peers to take inspiration from. The focus should not be on just building a large portfolio of investments. They must have a long-term horizon. These funds will work only if they solve real problems for their people, the problems of today and tomorrow.
Across continents, one powerful news source.
Bringing you diverse perspectives on the issues that matter.
We go beyond the boundaries to give you that little extra about every sporting moment.
So thank you for making Firstpost 5 million strong. We're counting on your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news unfiltered and unvarnished.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree. One tree for humanity. One tree for Mother Earth. One tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.
On the show today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can we expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
We'll start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. The first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Aaron Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital,